Hey guys, Future Kieran here. I'm editing this video and I realised that I ramble a lot. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and timestamp it either through chapters or I'll put a comment in the description on when like each thing is. And just feel free to skip about because to be honest I do waffle a fair bit. So yeah, feel free to skip about. I won't be offended today. Yeah, it's just one to get me back into the swing of things, you know? Alright, that being said, enjoy the rest of the video. Right, hello guys. Hello. Been a minute, I don't really know what to do here. I am not prepared for this at all, as you can tell. Alright, so let me just kind of explain what's happened, where I've been, what's going on. I thought I'd just record this now, get it over and done with. Long and short of it, I'm stupid. I really thought, so loads of times I was looking at YouTube Studio, looking at the numbers, yeah, and I thought that I had 50 views total on like 3 different videos. What I didn't check is that actually that was like 50 views in the last month or something, and some of my videos have got a few hundred views. So that's my bad. I also just generally speaking had life stuff going on. I'm not gonna get into it here, like, you know, you don't want to be here for that. But we're kind of out of the worst of it now. But yeah, so I thought I'd start filming again, start doing more content, because actually I liked talking about these things, and it's a shame I couldn't anymore. And shout out to, looking up his name, because he was the GOAT, Jacoby, or something like that. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Jacoby, something like that. Jacoby, Jacoby, I don't know, bro. Either way, shout out to him, them, her, them, I don't know. Because if it weren't for them, I would have not probably thought to publish another video, you know. The fact that he came in to say that, or they came in to say that they loved my content and they've watched all the videos. I'd not even put out that much content. I didn't even think it was like that amazing. So to hear that from them really inspired me to make another video. So this one's going to be really simple. It's just to get back into the things for me. Minimal editing, so like excuse me if it's a bit rubbish. But yeah. So I'm just going to do an account tour today. Over the next week I've got a video planned where I've written a few ideas out of what I want for the game. Like some features and stuff like that. And finally, I'm then going to be talking about what I think is the new best quick team and some of the stuff Jacoby was talking about before around Kemba V2 and Liev SP and all of that kind of jazz, because that's like a really interesting topic and it's going to be really important for people which want to save towards that going forward, right? So that being said, let's start with the account. You might see some pauses in the game. It's not because I've edited the footage or like it's a fake account or something. It's actually just because I am an idiot and I made my account, my main account, on an Apple account because I've got an iPhone. So I have no way of being able to record things or sort anything out. Therefore, what I've had to do is I've had to screen record my phone, the key moments on what I use, and I'm just going to put it over the top of the screen and then pause it when needed, okay? Once again, sorry it's a bit rubbish, but it's the best I could do in this given situation. First of all, let's start with the players. So when it comes down to SPs, I'm quite fortunate in that I've got most of them actually. Probably the key ones which I'm missing right now would be like the furutre duo, and the other one which comes to mind would be like Suga and Noya, right? Outside of that, I feel like I've got most of, if not all the SPs. I would need to check, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And the reason behind that is because I really wanted to create a really cool block team. Basically, I feel like block teams were just not viable until SPs, and I was also really sick of seeing power teams everywhere, like all the time. Every time during the pre-SP days, it was SP Oikawa, it was UR Oikawa, everywhere, and I was so sick of it, but I just wanted a really cool block team, and that was what I saved and budgeted around. So that's my team. Long term, I'm looking to get Hiragami and Hoshiyumi, as you will need for a block team, because Hiragami reduces all the cooldowns. It's low-key essential. They're low-key also essential for any team because they are just so versatile and also some of the best units in the game. So yeah, it's it's a must get, and I will be picking them up in a month or two whenever they release and whenever Garnier want to actually do this release schedule, because it's so inconsistent. That's a thing I'll talk about another time. But as you can see, I've got pretty much every character. You may be wondering why I've leveled up to some characters to level 2, and that's just because in the end I'm looking to collect all the characters, at least SR and down for now, and the way I filter out which SRs I've got duped and whatnot is by just leveling up by 1, and then I dupe everything into that level 2 character. It's just a nice way I organise things, because the XP is nothing at that level. Some other interesting ones. Yamaguchi I got really late, so the fact that he's level 70 is kind of impressive. I didn't really use him that much. More than anything, whilst I had a lot of characters I was getting, I was using Daichi and Yamaguchi as potential fodder. So like I would just like have no potentials on them, and my next character which I would acquire, like next SP unit, I'd put all the potentials onto Daichi and Yamaguchi. Apart from that, most of these characters are trained now. I'm looking to train them all up, but it's a thing I'm going through at the minute because I've got nothing better to do. Would it be more useful if I looked for the optimal potential? Yeah, but I kind of just like the idea of having all the SSRs fully trained. I don't know why, I just think it would be fun. That's it. Like at the end of the day, I've got like a pretty optimal team with pretty good potentials. I'm not too fussed there. Like all of them are like the right main stat, if nothing else. So I'm not too stressed. Some things to note would be SSR Kita and Aran as well. They're fully duped. I will admit I did pay real money for the chain packs there. I know it's embarrassing. Basically, Aran, as you know, is one of my favorite characters. I've done a whole video on him already. And then Kita is also a pretty cool character. I think those two are the most interesting people in Inarizaki. I think the twins are overrated. And I just loved the idea of having those two. And then the twins were meant to be really powerful. So I was like, I will spend a bit of money to get my favorites in some chain packs, and then also like get them duped as well, because that makes my teams just that much more viable super early. And to be fair, it did make a big difference. Any other interesting ones? I'm trying to look through quickly. Suga, SR Suga, sorry, I think was really slept on in the early game, back when people were still acquiring SSRs, and maybe your team would have like 1 or 2 URs and then like the rest SSRs. I felt that Suga was a really good addition to your team on the bench, because what I would do is I would sub him in the last 2 points or so to get all the stamina back, because back then stamina acquisition was actually really difficult. You didn't have like the memories like Komori's, which give you 2 stamina for a receive, or you know, Kita wasn't even a thing yet, so like stamina was also still an issue. Like you couldn't really get stamina from any way except from more or less Daichi, and to be perfectly honest, most people were not running Daichi back then, because he could only be required through the random recruit, which nobody went for because they would prefer to have selected characters which they knew would be useful, right? So stamina was actually a really hard to come by resource, so that made Sugawara actually quite useful. I've got Semi here, which I've now just fully leveled up, and I'm looking to potentially just fully dupe, with the idea of him being a pinch server, because once an SSR is fully duped, they actually statistically are better than you are, and that means that he would be better than like a Oikawa pinch server, which is just kind of the reality. Like, yes, I have Oikawa, like you are Oikawa, and he would be better if I duped him to like SR4, but the reality is that costs so many resources. So I'm just looking to get Semi to fully duped, and that will be my pinch server at the minute. Apart from that, I might have a few weird looking level ups like Rem or Omi to like level 70 or whatever, and the same with the 2 rare Inarizaki guys, and that's just purely because of bonds. I was like, I'll get them to level 40 just purely because it makes the bonds better, and it gives me that extra percentile point, which sounds really silly, but if you use Aran for like every hit, for example, if you can get like the Inarizaki wing spiker like thing up by like 2% and increases serve or like power attack, whatever it is, it all adds up, it all helps. Finally, let's move on to the teams. So when it comes down to my main team, this was kind of like how things were originally, and that was like a quick attack team, right? Because the twins were the most broken characters in the game back then. So I had the twins, and then I also got Hinata, right? So I kind of built around like this quick attack team, and that's kind of been like my bread and butter for a long time, which is why it's considered the main team, but really it's just the quick team, which happens to be the main team at this point. Another thing to note is I went for Komori and Sakuza. The reason behind this is because they're SP level, and I also was broke as hell when it came down to the Seagulls. In hindsight, I think that was still the right pick, but it was really difficult because Hoshiyumi was really useful and really versatile, and I ended up getting FOMO and getting him on the rebanner, which I do somewhat regret because, to be perfectly honest, he's not that useful, and soon he will be outshadowed by his SP version, and also when it comes down to triple cash, like, I wouldn't even get that much use out of him. So I can't lie, probably not the best buy, and there was a bit of FOMO, but it is what it is. Let's move on to my main team, which is the club team. Once again, like I said, these labels are old, they don't really make much sense. This is kind of my bread and butter team. This is where all of like my dupes are, and it's kind of like where all my energy is at the minute. I've got an SR2 Hinata, I've got SR4 now, as of a few days ago, Komori, and I've got an SR3 Koganagawa. And that plus the fact that I've got Ione as well, and I've also got Suki and Kuro, it means that I've got a really, really nasty block team with a lot of good bonds. Something I do on this team is that because Koganagawa benefits from manual play and having a perfect serve, I will play Koganagawa manually, and once I've built up the 15 stacks of Kenma's reflex buff, I will actually sub him out for either Sakuza, Aran, or Kunimi. Who I swap that out for really depends on what I want. So for instance, if I run a really strong backline, I'll swap out for Sakuza, especially if my defense, my blocks are pretty good at the minute, I'm not having to hit much. If I find myself needing to hit a lot, but we're at the end of the game, I'll probably use Kunimi, just because I can just chuck him in and he'll just spam out all of his hits and it will be fine. But if I feel like the game's going on a little bit longer and Kunimi's going to die out really quick, I'll probably actually just put in Aram, and Aram will just hit and be like the main attacking force for the team, because apart from that I'll only have Hinata and maybe Suki's hits, but even then like it's one or the other, because by the time one rotates forward, the one rotates out. So attacking wise, it's a team which struggles at times, which is why obviously Aram's there, but I like to use the Kenma first for the reflex boost, and then I'll also use it for Kuro's bond, like Kuro and Kenma's bond, which increases attack technique by 10%. These little things will like maybe win me a point here or there, why I wouldn't have otherwise, and it's a bit cheesy, like it's a bit cringe, but it is what it is. Like, if you're gonna try and win, you're gonna try and win. Alright, let's go on to my pass team. My receive team is like pretty much the same kind of core, but it's using Kunimi instead of Ione, pretty much. Like that's it. I will normally switch in Ione for Kenma once he comes on. The only issue is that he won't get the bond bonus and the stacks and stuff which he would have from Koganagawa before, so he stacks a lot slower and he's not as effective. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do there, because to have Koganagawa on, I need to basically sacrifice having one of the others on. It is what it is. Because I don't want to get rid of Kuro, because Kuro's just objectively too good. But and I also don't want to sub out Kenma for Kuro, because then I lose that bond. That makes sense. Either way though, this is a nice alternative if they're running quick attack teams. It's not common at the minute, but I do see it occasionally. And because it's my second strongest team, it always does pretty well. It gets me through if I'm finding like my only option is like, I don't know, a 205k quick attack team. Finally, this is my defense. This is just literally my defense. Normally I would have like a pinch server or something on my defense, or to see if I can like rotate stuff around and whatnot. But to be perfectly honest, there's just nothing I can do there. Objectively, like I just run Sakuza and kind of call it a day. I start him at the back, start Hinata there as well, and then we kind of rotate through pretty quick. The idea is that once Koganagawa comes to the back, Kuro goes to the front, so we get as much time with Kuro as possible, because to be honest, Kuro is my best blocker by far. I've hit over 1 million before with Kuro and Koganagawa as a combo. Can't tell you if that was in specialty trial though, so that might be like something worth noting. But in general, the two are just super effective together. But yeah, those are my teams. So finally I thought, let's look at Triple Clash and how I'm kind of arranging all of my teams together. So at the minute, I've got a quick attack team, which kind of builds around the Rizaki core, because that bond is really good. That school bond's actually really good, probably one of the best ones left. And then I've just chucked in Usujima more or less to finish things out. Haikyuu is actually one of my first SSI Libras. I didn't actually intend to get him, and I got him by accident when the game first came out, and since then he's been an absolute blessing. You know, I've been running quick teams for the most part, so he's been extremely useful until I got Komori, so he stays in that team and he's extremely good. Next, we've got the receive team. It's pretty bog standard. It's utilizing Sakaza, Hinata, all the normal pieces. The only difference is it's also got Hoshiyumi in there. No particular reason. I think he was just the best with the tags I had, so he was just a bit extra. The only other thing worth noting is that obviously I've got Tendo. You might be wondering why I haven't put Tendo and Ushijima together. That's just because I think, to be honest, my Ushijima isn't that good, especially in comparison to my Aram. And so I'd much rather just use Tendo with a high reflex team so that he can crit all the time and basically get his ult just permanently off cooldown. That's all there is to it. And finally, we have the block team, which I'm currently developing. So this one's got the Yuakuro and the Ione, the Koganigawa, and the Aram. The idea behind this is really simple. Utilize the Koganigawa bonds with the 3 other characters on there. Then you've got Aram, who's just going to spam hit, and then you've got Yuakuro to kind of seal the deal as like another blocker who can just do stuff. It's nothing too technical, but it works really well within the team, and it just kind of solidifies things, right? What I am going to do is I am actually going to show you guys what I'm looking to do in the future. So this is the final form of what I want my block team to look like. Like I said, it's got Hiragami, Hoshiyumi. The long and short of it is that I've actually been actively saving towards getting as many Hoshiyumi dupes as possible. I'm hoping for at least around SR3, but you know, we'll kind of see. Ideally I want SR4 straight away. And the rationale behind that is that with SR4, he'll only have a 4 net crossing cooldown on his ultimate. It's so loud. The rationale behind that is that he'll have a 4 net crossing cooldown on his ultimate. That plus you've got Suki with his ult. You should be able to alternate between the two very nicely. Finally, you've got Koganigawa, which has a really nice bond with Ione. You've got the serve skills for like the first 3 people in the row. There's great synergies all around. The only person which is probably not necessary is actually Kuro. And you could probably sub them out for pretty much anybody there and it wouldn't make too much of a difference, and that's something I'm considering doing, but to be perfectly honest, I quite like having Kuro in there, just in case we go through the full rotations. Then you've got a really strong blocker, and you've also got a good receiver if you've got 2 middle blockers at the back. The receive team will look something like this. Once again, utilizing Hoshiyumi, Hiragami. They're so strong, you will be able to make the most of it. My current high dupes will be in Komori, Sakaza, and Hinata as well, so you'll be making the most of that across the board. And then finally is the quick team. This is what I personally think is going to be the best quick team in the game, and potentially one of, if not the best team in the game. That's a bit of a hot take, but it's hard to tell. The only thing I'll say about this is that I don't know if I can afford this team. I don't know if I'm able to get both the twins or the twins at all. So what might happen is I might get something like this instead, where I've got Osamu Miura's UR, Atsumu SP, or, you know, once again, I go with two of my URs, which I already have, and then the SP Jazz Trio core. Either way, the priority is the Jazz Trio core, and then getting Atsumu if I can, and then Osamu last. The reason behind that is that Atsumi's set SR2 has a higher skill ceiling where it reduces everyone's cooldowns if they're a quick attack type player, and that is just way more helpful than anything I can scale with Osamu SR2 or whatever in his SP version. So That being said, this is kind of what I'm going for. Ideally the SP versions, but if not, I'm easy. And finally, I kind of wanted to talk about my triple clash teams in the future. I think this is really interesting because the triple clash situation is actually going to be a lot more nuanced than people think. Unless you go for dupes in your URs, your SSRs will be more valuable, which means it's actually probably better to run a team of SSRs than a team of URs. Once again, unless you're spending more money on duplicating, like, I don't know, Hoshiyume or something. That being said, these will be the teams I go for. Once again, these could be URs. If they are URs, I've worked it out that these would still be the best ROI I'd have, even if I had all the SSRs anyways, just because of the way the SPs work with the Jazz Trio, right? I think the Jazz Trio are extremely good, but they're also extremely inflexible. You need quick attack type players, and you also need like setters as well. It's very specific, something only Atsumu and arguably Osamu Miya can fulfill as well. Oh, and it goes without saying, I've got Suki at the front because then you've got the Karasuno bond and then Hinata at the back so that he can get those hunger stacks, right? Because unless he's duped, he needs to start off the court because otherwise he can't get those hunger stacks to really hit as hard as he is designed to. Right, next up is my receive team. This is pretty much like bog standard. I've kind of shown a similar team to this already. It's pretty much one of my teams already, actually. The only difference is Ginjima. Ginjima is kind of like a whatever character. I wouldn't say I'm particularly excited about him, but he is a free SP unit with SP level stats, and even a max dupe SSR cannot beat that. So the only reason you could ever justify running an SSR over an SP is because of bonds, which realistically, let's face it, you won't have something which justifies that. So I'm running Ginjima here. I think Ginjima is just overall a pretty solid unit. He works best when you counter someone as well, so that I can swap and change offensively. He's quite useful. He's alright. He's the definition of alright. And I'll have Sakazu and Hinata hitting plenty, and he'll just come in to clean up. And then finally we have, that's helpful. And finally we have the block team, right? This is more or less going to be alternating between the two spam hitters. So for whatever reason Korai fails, then you've got Aran to be able to just hit every shot anyways. You've got Kita running in the back just for stamina reasons, because once again, if you're going to have a spam hitter, you need someone who's going to sort out the stam, be that Kunami on the bench, or be that another form of stam, like through like coaching or something. But these are basically like the teams I'm going for. Let me know what you guys think. I personally think these are really cool. I'd like a power team, but there's not really too much I can do with that right now. What I'm kind of thinking of building is something like this down the line, but I'm not sure how that will work. I'm not too fussed about it though, that's the most important thing, because I've already got a good team for the majority of specialties. It's just basically a power attack specialty. But yeah, a team I would run would probably be something like this, because then you've got that. Ideally you would have Iwazumi as well, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think you need it when you've got Sakazu Komori and also Hoshiyume receiving as well. Like, you're probably sound, especially when it's going to be like a near max dupe Hoshiyume. And then you've got probably Ginjima. Yeah, it will probably be, or at least on my end, Ginjima and the likes of Kuro. So I need to figure out personally if I'm willing to invest in Oikawa, because he's the only unit I would need to create like a pretty good power team. However, it is at the cost of once again resetting your SP, however it does come at the cost of resetting my SP pity, and with Hoshiyume being the next character I get, I don't know if I can justify that just because Hoshiyume is that good, really. Like, he's the pivotal point of my entire team, and I do have a tendency to build too broad and not enough depth into my teams. And what I mean by that is I have a tendency to have the most flexible roster in the world, where I've got the best pieces to create a great receive team, block team, power team, quick team, stamina team, whatever you want. But they're not duped, so they struggle in Heat Challenge and stuff like that down the line, right? And that's kind of where my issues are at the minute. Thankfully, thanks to getting a lot of dupes on Kognigawa with the chain packs and everything and having Star Gems saved up, it wasn't an issue. But as time goes on, I will need to keep duping my team, and if I can't dupe Hoshiyumi enough, then my whole team will fall apart, and I don't know if Oikawa is worth that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm trying to think about that. If you guys want to know where my alt account is at and what I've got going on there, I would be happy to share that. It's kind of been going since around about Kenma, around SP Kenma-ish, maybe Hinata. So it's been going on for about 4 months now, and I'd say I've got a pretty good team at this point. So just as a quick preview, this is kind of my alt accounts team. This is entirely free to play on here. I've never spent anything on this one. I've been playing for a few months now. I accidentally got Kunami, and that was a mistake. I accidentally pulled a bit too close to the sun, but it is what it is. But yeah, if you're interested in a full account review of my alt account and like my free to play strategy, I'm more than willing to do that. Down the line, I'm looking to do a video on a beginner's guide to Haikyuu Fly High for people which have never played the game before or are just starting or wanting to start an alt account and make the most of it. But yeah, that's more or less my team on my alt account. Those have been my teams on my main account. Let me know what you think. I personally think that I've got some pretty good teams going here, and I've got a good future plan. It's just a matter of if I want to get Oikawa, and to be honest, I'm so torn up about it, because at the end of the day, I've still got to save for the Jazz Trio and maybe the Mia Twins as well, if I can afford it down the line. But that will be on rebanners and rebanners, so we'll have to just wait and see. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, it's good to be back, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.